Hello, my friends. John LaRuffa here with another Straight Up Solo. And in this episode, we're going to start a series of ratings to rate the solo games that I've played or have in my collection. And we'll use the usual, S tier, A, B, C, D, and F tier. And I figured I would start in the middle with C tier to kind of build up the suspense, so to speak. Now, C tier are games that are totally fine, that I enjoy, that I still have in my collection, and that I just don't necessarily play. Like, there'd be a circumstance where I would want to play them, but not all the time, right? There would be something that I would do to say, I'd like to play this type of game or that type of game. And let me get one of those from that C tier, so to speak. But it is not going to be a place where I will go back like for repeated games that just happen and then I'd put it away for a while. That's kind of the way I look at C tier. And there's different levels in there too. And so I've kind of organized or categorized some of these tier or the games in the C tier by certain things to just try to give you an understanding of where my head's at when I rate them from a solo standpoint. Of course, all this is solo. So the first ones I want to talk about fall into, I would say, the viticulture tier, so to speak, in C tier. Now, viticulture is a fine game. It was a solo game I've had for many, many, many years. They've had expansions, and really what I'm talking about here is kind of playing it with all the expansions in or out. Definitely the Tuscany. And this tier, this gradation of the tier represents games I've played for a lot of times over the years. And so I still find them fun, but it's not like I'm going to go and get super excited. It's kind of like a comfort tier, so to speak. And that would be like games like Viticulture, to a lesser extent Wingspan, because I think Wingspan is less interesting than Viticulture, but it definitely falls into one of those things I've played so many times, and it's fine. Space Corp is another one. Now, Space Corp is enhanced a little bit more by the expansion for sure, the Ventures expansion, but it still qualifies that C tier, in my opinion. Aura et Labora, a little bit different there, but I've had it forever, and I've played it a lot. And so it's one of those games I'll pull out every now and then, but maybe once a year, maybe not even, but still enjoy it. And then Everdell kind of falls into this category too, because it's a good game. I've definitely enjoyed it over the years, but it's not something I'm going to go to all the time. Then there's this tier where they are great games, objectively great games, but also require a substantial amount of relearning or effort on my part to get them back to the table. And it would take a lot of work to do that. So I like playing them, but they don't usually stick on the table. And that is the vast tier, I would say. You've seen this, the vast collection kind of up there throughout many of my videos. Those are great games. They're probably better. This tier also kind of falls into, some of these are probably better. Well, maybe not. But Vast, I think, is fine solo. It's probably better with a multiplayer audience. And the same can be said for Root. Root with the Clockwork bots. It's, again, very good game, but it takes a lot to remember how to play it and to do it and everything else. And then the third one, like this would qualify for probably any coin game, but I put Red Dust Rebellion in here because that's my favorite coin game. It is a great game, but it requires a substantial amount of investment up front to understand what you're doing and then get that place. And it would definitely be better, I think, as a multiplayer experience, just because you wouldn't have to do so much heavy lifting of solo on your own. Another one that I wouldn't say is necessarily better multiplayer or not, because I wouldn't know, and I'll never know, is Atlantic Chase. Atlantic Chase is a really cool game, but it requires a substantial amount of effort to kind of pack it all in your brain. And there are 10 learning scenarios, if you will, to get you to that point. And then I would also put Gloomhaven in this, because Gloomhaven takes the rules. Every time I play it, I have to learn it from scratch, and that is a big effort. And then I'll also throw in two games. First of all, Star Trek Frontiers, which is my go-to if I'm going to play a game like this, but also Mage Knight would be in this C tier. People are like, oh my gosh, how? Well, I'll tell you how. Because it requires a ton of learning to remember how to play it if you leave it on the shelf for a while. And in my case, I prefer to do the Star Trek version versus the Mage Knight. I think it's just a little more fun for me. All right. Then there is this big, wide category of what I would call perfectly good games that I have played and repeatedly played, but just not very often. And I call it the Tinner's Trail section of games here. And that's because I like Tinner's Trail a lot. And I've played it over the years a lot. I even played it way before it was a solo-only game. I played it when it was, or not solo-only, but solo game was just, the two-player or whatever. But that would include games like Grand Austria Hotel, which is a great game. I just don't pick it up often, but it is a very good game. I like it, especially the expansion. Harvest would be in that one. I would say World Wonders, which is a little bit easier to bust out and play. Leviathan Wilds, Apex, which you could see over here. This is a deck building, kind of a classical deck building game versus some of the other ones. And what I mean by that is more like Dominion style. And you could also put Legendary Encounter style games into this too. What else? Let's see. So Shipyard, which is a good game. It's a comfort game, right? You're making ships, and it's totally good at what it does. I like it from the solo standpoint for sure, more than I like the original one, because I actually prefer to play it solo since it can drag a little bit with more people. Rats of Wistar, good game, no problems with it, just haven't played it a lot. Books of Time, same thing. Rebuilding Seattle, same thing. Stevens, pardon me. Stevens is a game I probably need to play a little bit more to appreciate it a little more than I do. It's a good game, no problem with it. I could see it going to B tier maybe if I really kind of mastered it a little better. Evenfall, totally fine game. Tapestry, I've had that one for a long time. Tapestry could almost go into the viticulture side of things, but I put it here because I haven't played it as much as those other ones. Honey Buzz, good game. Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, good game. I don't play it often enough, but it is a good one. Endless Winter, and finally Underwater Cities. I kind of lump all those into this idea of the perfectly good, serviceable games that I like to play, just don't play them repeatedly. Then there are these games that I play more. I play more often, honestly, but I want to be in a specific mood. And these are like the puzzle kind of games that fit into this category. And these are games, I call it the Meadow category. Because Meadow is very much a very pleasant, very enjoyable game to play. But I wouldn't say it's a light game. It's just I need to be in the right mind frame to do it. So that'd be like Meadow, Pergola, which is much more light, but the same kind of feel from it. Dorf Romantic, Imperial Miners, Calico, Cascadia the dice game, which I actually prefer than the regular Cascadia. And then some weirder ones like Factory Funner. Factory Funner I haven't played solo in a long time, but it stays in my collection right up here. And that's because sometimes I just feel like playing that puzzle. And it's a good one. It's just, I think it's actually a little more fun with more people, to be honest. Roads and Boats, a game I really appreciate, just don't play as often because it really, God bless me, I'm sorry. It really requires you to get in a good puzzly sense of mind to do well at it, which is great. It's just not going to hit the table often. The Guild of Merchant Explorers, that one's a little bit lighter. And then finally Railroad Inc., which I play more often on the app version than I do in the physical. But I like that one. Okay. Then there's games that really are very hard to win. And so they're enjoyable, but they're very hard to win, and you kind of come away feeling pretty beaten by playing them. And I put that in the Last Bastion category. Last Bastion was a remake of Ghost Stories. Also very hard to win, but enjoyable in their own right. Just a super challenge. The other one would be Reckoners. The Reckoners, really good game, really hard to win. And then I throw in Kanban EV, since I've never been not fired during that game. I like it, but I just basically set it up to lose. And that's a little bit tough sometimes. Then there is the real-time, time pressure, things are going, and I got to be on my game, really sharp mentally to play this. And that would be the Space Alert category in this C tier. If you've played Space Alert solo, you know that it is all about you paying attention, being very focused, and juggling an awful lot in your brain for 10 minutes, and then seeing if it was enough. Really cool game, especially with the expansion. The expansion takes it to a whole nother level of difficulty, but you cannot be playing that when you're tired. You got to be sharp. You got to be ready. You got to be on your game. And in a similar way, but to a little bit of a lesser extent, would be like Rush MD and Kitchen Rush. Also, really cool games, even fun to play, very fun to play solo, but also a lot to just like, okay, here we go, let's do it. And then you got to be focused and then see if you can win. Then there's a group that are like the interesting, but they don't really stand out one way or another. They're fun, but I'd say like it's almost like I start to lose a little bit of interest before the game ends, or I feel like I need to play them more to appreciate them more, and that would be the Dice Realms side of things. So Dice Realms, right up here, just got an expansion recently, and I like it more, but I still consider it C tier. It's very expensive for what it is, but it's one of those games where you play it, and the idea of the game seems like it would be slightly better than the experience, but it's still cool. I put a Tiwa in that same exact category. I'd also put like Hallertau, which is an Uwe Rosenberg game. Very good game, fine. Just doesn't grab me like some of the other ones do. Caverna Cave versus Cave, even with the second expansion, same kind of deal. And then finally Findorf from Friedman Freeze. I don't know why I don't play that game more often. I guess it's just because it doesn't, grip me. But it's a good game. Then there is the games that are fun to play that I really appreciate, but that are just, they're not as at the level of learning like Vast and Root and such, but they're at a level of concentration and nuances that you really got to be ready to work your brain over to do that. And that would be the Paladins of the West Kingdom category, which I really like. But Paladins of the West Kingdom is a game that burns my brain big time because there's so much to consider while you're playing it. And that would also be Dayatashi, I think, and Bitoku, and even Bloodstones, which is a different kind of burn. But Bloodstones, because of the way the solo works now, it's really it's like the campaign is more of like a solving with the system sort of thing. You're solving these scenarios, and it takes a lot to try to figure out what do I need to do to win. So also games really good, but they're not going to hit my table very often just because of the effort that it requires. Then there's the Circumstantial, I'm in the mood for this type of game, but it's not really a puzzle game, and that's the Elder Sign group. Because Elder Sign is fun, and so is Eldritch Horror, which also goes into there, and the Arkham Horror Final Hour. These three kind of sit in here where I will play them once every couple of years and enjoy them, but I don't need to go back to them for a long time. And it's just kind of like that experience, like, yeah, that was fun. Whether I win or lose, I enjoy it, but I don't need to see it on the table, every quarter or every 6 months. And then the last category here is the little, small, lighter puzzly game. And I would put, I'll call it the Siberian and the Urbion style. It's like these small little games that have some variety in things they play. They're usually under a half hour, and they are interesting in their own right, but I could kind of grab from the shelf once in a while and enjoy them and then pick them back, but they're not going to get me super excited for the point of like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to play that again when I get home from work tomorrow. And that would be, like I said, Siberian, Urbion, Verdant falls under that, Flip Town, Card Dice, Roll to the Top, Pioneer Rails, Wild Tiled West, Siege of Valaria, which is different than the other ones, but still kind of falls into this mindset in my head. Archaeologic, and even Tesseract. And probably you could say that Railroad Inc. would fall into this too, but I play that one a lot more compared to these other ones, so I put it up with the Meadow side of things because that's more of a comfort sort of game. I don't know why, but it just is. So those are a ton of different games that fall into my C tier. And the C tier is still in my collection. None of these games have been put out or are on their way out or whatever else. They're good games. They're just not games that need to be played all the time, or I'd like to play more, but it would be too much of an effort kind of thing. So I hope this is informative for you. You've seen me rate almost every one of these games for the last couple of years. And so you can see where they still fall in my enjoyment level, and how I go to play them. So in future videos, I'm going to keep on doing these until I get through all the tiers, and it'll be interesting. I'm going to try my best to separate them into groups like this, and also make sure there's a separation between, C, B, D, A, F, and then of course S. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Whatever you do in the future, I really hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy.